exam. So I did talk about this in a previous video, but the video was long and it was towards the end of the video. So I just wanted to do another video just strictly focusing on the exam and my experience taking the exam. I first want to say my study materials. I studied Hollier videos. I watched the videos. Um, I studied Barkley, which is the prep um, that Purdue offers the last term of the program. So the last 10 weeks, you're studying Barkley, which is supposed to prepare you to sit for the examination. I also studied the LEAP book, as you guys know, and I studied the Hollier APEA test bank. I think the test bank was like $29.99 or something like that, and you get it for 6 months. And I studied Sarah Michelle crash course. I believe the crash course was $139. And I also purchased her test bank, and I believe it was like $39.99, and you got it for a month. And then I used the Leak book app, and there was a test bank with that one also. So that's what I used to study. And I would recommend studying with 3 different test banks. This is what I would recommend to be prepared to pass the exam. I would do a review, whichever review you want to do, whichever one makes you feel comfortable. Like I said, I only did the crash course, and I watched Hollier videos. And then I would study from 3 test banks. You want to study from 3 different test banks because you'll have a variety of approaches to how the question is being wrote versus one test bank. It's usually a few authors who write a test bank with a lengthy amount of questions. Like Sarah Michelle, I believe, I don't know, I think she wrote the questions. I'm not sure who all wrote the questions, but it's different to have different, it's better to have, or it's good to have different, a variety of different people test questions. So that's why I think it's good to study from 3 different test banks. Now, as far as the exams, the first exam I took 2 weeks after graduation. I graduated February 22nd, and I went and took the exam 2 weeks later. Um, as I always do, I always study throughout school and then go and take the exam. So the first time I took AANP, which was 150 questions. And I believe it was 25 of them that you weren't scored on. And it's just questions that they throw in to see how students answer the questions to make a decision whether they will put it on the new exam. Speaking of new exams, in September, they are writing or uploading, whatever you want to say, a different version of the exam than I took and anybody prior. So up until September, they're going to shut down, and you're not going to be able to schedule an exam at that time because they're doing a switch over. So uh, that's that. But anyway, so I took the AANP, and when I took that test, to be completely honest, I was nowhere near ready for that exam. It was a lot of older and adult and geriatric questions, and you, as far as the AANP, there's no select all apply, no drag and drop, no pictures. It's just straight up clinical questions, no professional role questions, just all select that up, all multiple choice questions, and all clinical based questions. So I took that exam and I was nowhere near ready for that exam. And I knew I was taking the test and I knew I was not passing that exam. Um, because almost every question I was like, what? And to be honest, I did not. I looked at the blueprint once early in the program, but not early in the program, but like a few months before I was going to graduate. I looked at it, and the blueprint, which tells you what you're going to be tested on, and I did not look at it closer to the time that I was studying for the exam. And so I did not, it says on there that it's going to be almost half the exam is about questions about older adults and elderly. So I did not study heavy in that section. I did do the review, I did do the leak, but I didn't put enough emphasis as far as studying on the geriatric population um, and older adults. So I failed that one, rightfully so. I knew I would. So, all right. So that's fine. So now I have to wait I have to, oh, I actually don't have to wait to take that one again. I had to complete 15 CE credit hours and submit that to the AANP in order to get another test date. But I could immediately go take the ANCC because I had not taken that yet. So I scheduled my test, and then I studied for 2 weeks more, longer. I studied, and I ended up taking it at home, which was the worst decision I ever made. One of the worst decisions I ever made is taking the exam at home. I had anxiety prior to taking the exam because I read that you may not get a break. It's up to your preceptor. So with the AANP, you get a total of 3 hours to take the exam and answer 150 questions. With the ANCC, you get a total of 4 hours to take the exam, answer 175 questions, and which I believe 25 of those do not count for anything. They want to see how well you do and make a decision whether they're going to add it to the newer version of the next exam. So I'm tripping. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to sit for 4 hours and I'm not going to be able to use probably not going to be able to use the restroom. So I'm like, I got to put 2 pads on in case I have to urinate on myself, blah, blah, blah. Hopefully I don't have to have a bowel movement on myself. It was just like, had a lot of anxiety. And then I also read that I didn't get I'm not going to be able to use a scrap sheet of paper. And that really sucked. And I really had anxiety. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to use a scrap sheet of paper. Like, what the heck? Blah, blah, blah. So, when you're doing it at home, Proctor, you have to use a pad on the screen as your scrap paper, which is nowhere near the same. So, I was freaking out. So It was freezing in here. I was so cold. And also, my proctor did not speak fluent English. So I began taking a test. So you have to check in, you have to show your sleeves and pull your sleeves up in your pants leg. You have to give them a view of the room, under the table, all types of stuff. If you're wearing glasses, you got to hold your glasses up to the screen and whatnot, uh, and do the security check. So he said that I would get one. It was a lady at first, and she said that I could get one 10-minute break. And so I'm like, okay, I'll answer half of the questions and then I'll go take a break, my 10-minute break. So the anxiety was just taking over me. So I was sitting there, and the whole, like, before the exam, I had to have a bowel movement. So I'm sitting there taking an exam, like, let me get to at least 75 questions before I get up and go and take my break. But the whole time I was taking a test, it felt like I was going to have a bowel movement. My bowels were moving, and about at 65 questions, I had to stop and um, go use the restroom. So I'm like, I'll turn the heat up at this time also during my break. So when I come back from the bathroom, I stand in front of the laptop and I'm stretching. And so now it's a guy who doesn't speak that much English. And so he's telling me to, oh, are you ready to check back in? And he's doing the process of checking me back in. I'm like, wait, I'm not ready to check in. My 10 minutes is not up, right? And he's like, yeah, you only get 10 minutes, so you can check in. I'm like, I'm saying I did not use my 10 minutes. I want to continue to use my 10 minutes. But he didn't understand. So I had to check back in. Um, I didn't get to turn the heat down. I mean, excuse me, heat up. And so I'm just like kind of pissed. Another thing with taking the exam at home, proctored exam, is every time they switch people, proctors or whatnot. I don't know if they were going on break and just switching. Every time they switch, a screen would pop up on my laptop. And so I'm like in deep thought trying to answer these questions, and here's a screen popping up and throwing my concentration off. And so I will have to stop and close the screen out or whatnot. So that was very irritating. So now I'm sitting taking exams, still freezing. I still feel like I have to poop. The anxiety is just out of control. So I still feel like I have to poop. I don't have another break. So I have to sit here and answer all the questions up to 175 questions without another. I'm going to poop on myself, and freezing, and just horrible experience. So I'm taking a test, blah, blah, blah. And when I get to like the last 20, my heart just started pounding, pounding. I can feel my heart just pounding or whatever. So I'm answering the questions, but the questions still seem fair. I still, even though I'm going through all that and have all this anxiety, I'm feeling like I'm still going to pass the exam. And so, to make a long story short, when you get done taking the ANCC, you don't get your results right away. You have to go to your email, and they email you your results. So I went to my email, and it had a red circle with the X through it and said I failed. So I was bummed out. I didn't cry or anything, like I didn't cry about the first one. The first one, I knew I wasn't ready, so there's no need to cry. This one, I was like sad that I had so much anxiety, and even though I had the anxiety, I thought the exam was going well. I thought it was pretty easy, but I failed. So now with ANCC, you have to wait 6 weeks before you can test again. You don't have to do CE hours or whatnot. You don't have to resubmit transcripts and all that stuff. You just have to pay again and retest. But you have to wait 6 weeks. So now I went and got my surgery on the 4th of April. So a week later, I probably went too fast, like some people say, or whatever. But a week later, I went and took the exam. And I felt like I was ready because, while I was basically on bed rest, I was like answering questions, test banks or whatnot. So I'm like, I'm ready. All I'm doing is sitting. It's not like I'm walking around or anything. So I know I just had the surgery, but all I'm doing is sitting. I can go take this exam and I'm ready. So I go and take the AANP. So I go to a testing center this time. So I go to the testing center. Of course, I get my scrap paper or whatnot, and I can use the restroom as much as I want. I didn't have any. Oh, I took a beta blocker also. I took a beta blocker 15 minutes prior to me having the test because it's supposed to help with anxiety, off-label use. So I went. I still have to I still had to have a bowel movement prior to taking the exam, and then I went in and started the exam, and so I'm taking the exam and it's just seeming so freaking easy, so freaking easy. So, but I'm telling myself like, okay, Angela, calm down. It's probably it's gonna get hard sooner. So I'm like talking to myself, I'm trying to focus on the exam, but I'm also like, oh, okay, my heart's not pounding, the beta blocker must be working. I'm thinking about the anxiety. Even though I'm not experiencing too much anxiety, I'm not having um, the feel like I want to poop through the whole test, or my heart is not beating, heart palpitations. I'm not having any of that. I did have to go use the restroom prior, like I said, but for the most part, I'm good. And these questions are just easy, seeming easy. So I'm taking the test. So then I take another break. I get to 75 questions, and then I go take another break, and I had to have another bowel movement. So I went and had the bowel movement and came back, took the test, but I'm still not feeling as if the test is hard. Like, I'm feeling like it's pretty easy still. So I go ahead and I'm taking a test, and I end up answering the remaining 75 questions. And so when I get done, I'm smiling like I know I passed or whatever. I'm happy, waiting for with the AANP, the results pop up on the screen, and before you even walk away from the computer whether you pass or not. So I'm smiling and just looking at the computer like, finally it's over, I did it or whatnot. And the computer screen said failed. So I'm like, what is going on? I failed. I just stared at the computer for a minute because I'm like in disbelief, like, okay, these results are about to change. Like, I know I did not fail. The exam seems so easy or whatnot. And then I'm like, okay, this time I did cry. I was like, what is going on? Like, why am I failing? Like, I just don't understand. So I have one more. Well, with the AANP, you only can take it twice in one calendar year. So say you take it March, and then you take it in uh, July. Well, now you have to wait to the next calendar year to take it again, starting January of the following year. So say you take it in March, and then you take it again in December. That's your 2 times in one calendar year. But in January, you can go take it again because that's a new calendar year. So, so I'm like, I can't take the AANP anymore this year, but the ANCC you can take 3 times in one calendar year. You just have to wait. It has to be a 6 week gap in between each time. So I'm like, something is wrong. Something's wrong. Something's not right. I don't know where this anxiety is coming from. I never had anxiety in my life. Like, I just don't understand. I had regular test anxiety where you're a little nervous and shaky, and then once you start, you on your 10th or 15th question, and you're just ready. You're zoned out. Like, I've never experienced this. So I said I need to get some help. I need to talk to somebody. So a friend of mine, Michael, he from California, my homeboy, my brother, he suggested that I talk to his friend, and so and his friend is a therapist or whatnot, and so I talked to him, and he's like, I'm like, I don't understand why I failed this last time because, it was nothing wrong. I felt like the exam was easy or whatnot. And he's like, but your brain can't focus on 2 things at one time. You were trying to take the exam, but you were also focusing on your anxiety. And what he told me and what I know now is anxiety is the anticipation of having anxiety. So, I was sitting there thinking like, oh, the beta blocker is gonna work, is working. Oh, is it gonna wear off? Like, really, oh, I don't feel like I was too focused on it, and my brain chose to focus on the anxiety versus the exam. And he gave me some other tips or whatever. Like, he talked to me a little bit more, and he told me like, don't eat the night before to give my body enough time to digest the food that I have for dinner, and then the day of the exam not to eat. And then I also learned that I said maybe that's the reason he said it is one of the reasons he said that is I read that your brain works better on an empty stomach or whatnot. So and then he told me about these supplements to take. They're called Happy Healthy Hippo. I got them from Amazon or whatnot. I have all of the supplements in there for mood and just everything. Just check it out because it really worked. So he's like, order it, start taking it now, and when you know that you put in the work, so the knowledge is not the issue, it's your anxiety, and you have to. Everybody has anxiety, but you have to learn how to deal with your anxiety. And he said, don't take the beta blocker because the beta blocker is just nothing but a crutch or whatnot. So 6 weeks passed, and I finally was able to sit again for the ANCC. And so I did what he said. I ate, actually, I forgot, and at midnight I ate a brownie, 2 brownies. But I didn't eat breakfast. So when I went, before the exam, I still had to have a bowel movement. And that's because I ate the brownie. And then I went and took the test. And ANCC is like the security check-in. It's like going to see somebody in prison or something. It's just crazy. The AANP is not that bad or whatever, but the ANCC was like, security was crazy. Security check. So anyway, I went and took the test. I said I'm going to answer half the questions, and then I'm going to take a break. So it's 175 questions. So what I did was I made one, two, I made 5 squares. And in the first 2 squares, I put 50 in it. And then in the other 3 squares, I put 25. So when I answered 50 questions, I would cross out one box. I answered another 50, cross out another box. Then I'm like, okay, I only got 3 boxes of 25 left. I'll do a 25, cross a box out. And that helped me as far as answering that many questions or whatnot. So I answered 100 questions, and then I took a break. I went to the bathroom and had another bowel movement. It's crazy. And then I came back refreshed, and then I answered the remaining 75 questions, and then I took another break, and I had another bowel movement, and then I came back and went over my flag questions, in which I only flagged about 10, maybe 15 at the most, but 10 questions, not that many out of 175. I felt like the test was extremely easy. I felt that someone was praying, Lord, let this exam be very clear to Angela or something. Because when I say that exam was so easy to me, I didn't feel like any questions was tricking me up. I just sat there and with a clear mind, I didn't have any anxiety or anything. Um, I don't I didn't have any anxiety. I was just sitting there confident. I wrote on my paper, I will pass. And I just imagined myself for each question, I imagined myself in the clinic in front of that patient, talking and assessing that patient. And I swear, not one question was I like torn between two answers. Um, it had select all apply, but the select all apply, it would tell you how many questions, how many answers to select. Um, and it was pictures, and it was drag and drop and matching, and it was professional role questions, Medicaid, Medicare questions, everything, just a mixture. And I really liked it like that. I like this mix it up, mix it up. Don't ask me the same kind of questions the whole test. Mix it up. So if you like just clinical based questions, you probably want to take the AANP. And if you like a variety of different questions, then you want to take the ANCC. And I love the ANCC, and I feel like the ANCC is 100 times easier than the AANP. So that's that. So I took it and I passed it, and I knew I passed it. The computer screen cut off, and I was not able to answer the survey, so I was a little worried. I'm like, I didn't get a survey. I always get a survey. Like, what's going on? Did my exam get thrown away? Does it not count because I didn't do the survey? And so the manager, she was trying to print my results, and she was saying that the survey is optional, so I didn't have to do a survey. And she was like, "I'm sorry. I know you're probably like panicking or whatnot. You want to know if you passed or whatnot." Um, and I was like, I don't think that the results print at the computer. I think with the ANCC you get an email, so I have to wait until I go to my phone and check my email. And she's like, I'm so sorry. I know the wait, and I'm like, it's okay. I know I passed. Like, and she's like, oh, well, that's a good attitude to have. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think I failed it, so it's okay. I'll just get the results when I get to the car. And shorty, when I went to my email, it was a green box circle with a check mark that said pass, and I passed it. So, and then I also, the night before, I text all my friends and family and told them to pray for me also, that I'm going to take this. I usually don't tell anyone when I'm testing because I don't want to have to call everybody and tell them that I failed if I fail. So I usually don't tell anyone, but I did tell everybody, just please pray for me. You know, I talked to the therapist. I learned how to deal with this anxiety. And like I said, that test was so easy. But I give credit to prayers. I give credit to the therapist. And I also give credit to those 3 test banks. Um, in the Sarah Michelle, in the Hollier, but I really think the 3 test banks of me answering test questions from each one, and then mind you, I continued taking a test until for each test bank until I was scoring 80s or above, and I answered so many questions in so many different ways, and oh, I did the FNP. Oh, I did Fitzgerald test bank also, and it comes with the Fitzgerald review book. I did that test bank also. So it was easy. I just feel like if you put the work in and you study and you actually, know what you're studying and what you don't just memorize, but you actually know the stuff, you will do fine. You'll do fine. If you have anxiety, just figure out a way to deal with the anxiety. Talk to someone, have your family and friends pray for you, and just have the confidence that you know that you put in the work to pass. And the knowledge is, if you don't pass, you you have to put in so much work that if you don't pass, it's not the knowledge. You know that it's something else going on, like me, maybe the anxiety. But yeah, I passed that. The thing I don't like is when you pass the ANCC, they don't tell you your test results. And I really want to know what I scored, because I think the lowest you need to score is 350 with the ANCC, and the highest is 500. And I feel like I scored like 490. I don't know, but I really wanted to see, because I wanted to see if I scored as good as I felt taking the test. Like, I enjoyed taking the test. Like, who could say that they enjoyed taking the test? Not many of us. I'm not a nerd either. I just really enjoyed taking the test because I felt like I just knew that stuff. But the AANP does give you the results whether you fail or pass. So the ANCC only give you the results is if you fail. So I thought I was going to do a little short video. Sorry, this is a 33-minute video. But if you guys have any questions, just let me know and I'll respond. Comment, like, subscribe, share. Comment, like, subscribe, share. Thank you. You guys have a good night. Good morning.